Sup everyone, how are y'all doing? On today's video, I will be talking about all the witches in ReZero who have all been labeled under the name of Sins. I'll be talking about the authorities they possess and their background and how they became witches to start with. Basically, I'll be giving their whole life story for each witch. Okay, so the first witch I'm going to be talking about is Satella. So 400 years ago, Satella had absorbed the envy witch gene, which she wasn't compatible with, and subsequently went out of control and swallowed half of the world, while killing the other 6 witches in the process. Unable to be killed, Satella was eventually sealed away by the combined might of many warriors, including the first sword saint, the dragon, otherwise known as Volcanica, Sage, and Flungel. Satella currently resides in a shrine near the Great Waterfall in which she is watched over. It's currently unknown as to how and why Satella, the Witch of Envy, loves Subaru. Because of this, it is one of the biggest topics by fans of the series. Although she doesn't mention that Subaru was the one responsible for giving her light in the darkest of times, unlike the other witches of sin that will centuries later have a sin archbishop, the Witch of Envy does not have someone that represents her aforementioned sin. Satella can use over 2,000 unseen hands, and there is not really much information about her authority, the authority of envy, but in Arc 4, Minerva did mention that how she would like to not get hit by Satella's authority because it can be extremely fatal. The second witch we're going to be talking about today is the Witch of Gluttony, Daphne. Daphne's reason for living is to feel full, causing her to care more about the amount more than the taste. Though because she is bulimic, she sometimes throws up what she eats. She creates demonic beasts to try and get rid of her hunger. However, she does not care if people die because of them. A long time ago, a man was afflicted with an incurable disease, and as he was afraid of dying, he began using various methods to try to prolong his life. Daphne was one of the many people he used in his experiments, and eventually he succeeded in achieving his goal by using her body. In his joy, he forcibly undid her binds, and when she came to her senses, she found herself all alone in the man's castle, suffering from hunger. To satisfy her hunger, she began eating everything in the castle, including things like the throne, the carpet, and resorted to eating what she threw up when necessary. As she was immortal, she couldn't die. However, she felt like she was going to die from hunger. Eventually, she somehow began creating demonic beasts in the castle, which she considered to be illusions at times, and started to use them as food source. After a while, her bands broke from the fighting between her and the beast, allowing her to leave the castle. The demon beast also left and spread across the world. Daphne's authority, the authority of gluttony. Daphne is able to use the authority of gluttony. Daphne can make people feel extremely hungry by touching or looking at them. Just one eye was enough to force Subaru to experience it, causing him to eat his arm and try to lick his own blood while ignoring everything other than the thought of eating. Despite this, Donna described Daphne's left eye as nothing much, stating that she was a terror if she used her right eye or if she ate him. The third witch we will be talking about today is the Witch of Greed, Donna. Donna is the primary character in the 4th arc. After the Sanctuary was released, she transferred her soul into Louis Myers and renamed herself as Omega. Donna's curiosity towards unknown and her thirst for knowledge are 2 things that defines her behavior. She refers to it as love, and currently directs those feelings towards Subaru returned by death, which she is interested in to the point that she longs to become his advisor to record the many possibilities created from his ability. Described as being black-hearted, she cannot understand the feeling of others, and she can be a sociopath by normal standards. If it's to get a hold of more knowledge, she has no problem with employing lying and deceiving others. However, she interacts with ill will only towards 3 people in the world: Satella, Emilia, and one other person. A long time ago, Donna worried about everything, thinking of them as children that needed to be protected. She thought it was easy to control a world where things broke apart with swings of hands. However, she decided to put her efforts into protecting things instead. Despite this, no matter what she tried, she was unable to do anything by herself, making her experience how powerless she was. Although she despaired, she didn't give up, knowing that she could reach her goal if she had more people with common interests. From that point on, she kept persevering no matter how much she lost or was hurt, all to reach her goal. During the witch's era, she served as a tutor for Roswell after saving his life by fixing his defective gate. According to Echidna, royals of every country came to visit Echidna to borrow her wisdom at some point in the past when she was alive. Echidna possessed the authority of greed. Echidna is able to use the authority of greed, which allows her to use all 6 elemental magic. But in simpler terms, Echidna can be considered as all of NASA's supercomputer, but 5,000 years into the future. Echidna also has a book called The Memory of the World. If anyone read it apart from her, they will go insane. The Memory of the World is a book that has every last memory that the world has, and it is said to be able to tell the future. Arriving at number 4 is the Witch of Lost Carmelia. Carmelia has no self-confidence. She is very timid and tends to have downcast eyes. Her similarity to scare animal teases the emotion of others, making others become attracted to her otherwise unattractive body. A long time ago, Carmelia was a normal girl who was loved by the people in her village and even had a fiancé. However, one day, a man of power came to the man and desired her. Angered by the man's action, the villager rose up in defiance and fought against him, eventually burning down along with his mansion. The cities and the villagers around there began to regard them as dangerous, causing the fighting to spread. And soon their forces was trampling countries, all the while claiming that it was for her sake. Carmelia began to be regarded as a heavenly maiden. Nevertheless, she didn't desire such a thing, and saw that they were being misled by her own fantasies and manipulated by their ideals. After they had toppled a large country, her fiancé proposed to her at the top of the castle, though she ignored him and left everything behind, disappearing that what she had originally wanted no longer existed. Carmelia's authority is the authority of lust. Carmelia can captivate people by making them so absorbed in watching her that they wouldn't notice if someone stabbed them or if they were burning. She can also cause people to see and hear her as what they want to see and hear, such as when Subaru saw and heard her as Rem. The 5th witch on the list is Tappan. Tappan is the witch of pride. Tappan is said to have judged criminals with the innocence and ruthlessness of a young girl. This stems from her past of watching her father execute people in order to find an answer about the concept of good and evil. When Tappan was a young girl, she was troubled with the concept of good and evil and tended to watch her father execute people as a part of his job to find an answer. One day, she broke his wine cup, prompting her to confess her deeds to him. While fearing execution, though fortunately, he accepted her apology, leading her to believe that the scale that measured a person's sin was inside of their own heart. Ever since then, Tappan began asking people if they were sinners and brought down punishment to those that were guilty. Tappan possesses the authority of pride. Tappan can break apart her target's body if she determines that her target feels guilty or something to that effect. The 6th witch coming up is the Witch of Sloth, Sekhmet. Sekhmet is true to her position as the Witch of Sloth. Sekhmet's personality can be summed up in one word: lazy, which also been seen through her appearance. She is also lazy enough that she finds breathing even wants to be a pain and gives off a gloomy atmosphere. Before she was born, Sekhmet can also expect things from her, wanting to bring back their founder known as God. However, after she was born, She disappointed them, causing them to hold her in a disdain and abandon her as a punishment. Many years later, upon hearing of a wild woman in the mountain, men came and captured her, taking her down to the city. While there, she gained knowledge, a way of life, and emotions. Eventually, not understanding at the time that what she felt was gratitude and obligation, she snapped the neck of the men in the place she lived in and left. Returning to her homeland, she proceeded to kill her entire clan, not understanding at that time that what she felt was hatred and desire for revenge. She then returned back to her previous home to give the men she killed a proper burial, and once she was alone, she felt a peace of mind, which she felt happiness about. Over 400 years ago, Sekhmet drove Volcanica past the Great Waterfall just so she could rest, following into a fight between the two, with Sekhmet falling from the Great Waterfall while fighting, concluding into her death. Sekhmet authority is authority of sloth. Sekhmet is seemingly capable of using advanced version of the unseen hand, as she is capable of hitting things with an invisible force without moving. She is able to use this power in all directions. And the last and final witch is the Witch of Wrath, Minerva. Minerva doesn't like conflict, as she always lament it while healing people. She also only cares about what's in front of her, starting that she didn't care about what she can't see, such as the side effects of her ability. Thus, she was immediately head off to address it once her current problem is dealt with, as long as there are any injured people. In the past, people in the world around Minerva were constantly fighting, causing her to cry. Eventually, she realized that crying wouldn't solve anything and decided to train herself in order to gain enough power to be a deterrent to fighting. Though that still didn't change anything. As she fought, she came to understand that she'd been crying out of rage and not sorrow, causing her to start punching people, resulting in their wounds being healed. From that moment on, she traveled the world to heal people wherever she found people in need. Minerva also has some kind of history with elves, as she cares deeply about Emilia and other elves. Minerva has the authority of wrath. Minerva is able to heal others by hitting them with any part of her body, though her ability has a side effect of a calamity occurring in different parts of the world. Every time she does so, it also seems to grant her a super strength and speed, which leaves her shockwaves in her wake. Anyways, guys, that was for all the 7 witches in ReZero and their history and power of their authority. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.